Let me just put this again. Let me go to screen share. Sharing my screen here. Can everybody see what we got here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So picking up where we left off, additional terms. Now, your buyer, let's say most buyers are going to want to ask the seller to pay their closing costs. So as far as in what you're going to put in additional terms, this is about it. Try not to put anything else in here. And it's going to be as simple as seller agrees to pay buyer's closing cost of, $10,000. So try not to get too wordy. You want to be very specific and very um, simple, very short. So seller agrees to pay buyers closing cost of $10,000. Um, any questions? I know I flew through this part here and I flew through this part here. Um, any questions on addendums or additional terms?
No, but I think I had a question on something more up. I think
Okay.
you also threw kind of through it before all of the wordiness.
Mm, okay. Inspection period.
Yes, inspection period.
Okay.
Um, you said that usually in this market it's not 15, it's more like 7 to 10. Why? Is it because it's a buyer's market and they already have all the time, or like why is that?
Um, it's just it's what I see most often. Back when I first started, 10 years ago, we saw 15 a lot because it was definitely a buyer's market. Um, that was pretty average 15. And then back in 2021, 2022, we saw a lot of people doing like 1 or 2 day inspections. Some people didn't even have inspection periods. And so what we realized is, oh my gosh, we can actually do these inspections, these inspection periods much, much quicker than 2 weeks. Because if you put the 15 days, what you're going to have inevitably is somebody on the 15th day go, we want to cancel. And
Mm,
that's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to the seller. It's not helpful to anybody. Right. So what we're saying is, hey, if you're going to cancel, do it in the first week. We can get an inspection done in the first 3 days, and that report will be back to you, that evening. That gives you 4 days to decide if you want to move forward or not from after you get the report back. Usually even more. Most inspectors I can get out to a property within the first day or two. So, what we're basically doing is like, hey, if this is not the property for you, let's get out of it sooner rather than later. Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay.
Get it done quickly. Okay, I think that
Yeah.
was
I
uh,
think probably right now what we're really seeing is like is 7 to 10 days. So like,
okay.
a little more than a week is fine, but you really want to keep that at a minimum because this allows you to, if you find something in the inspection, to get your buyer out of it quicker, right? You want to get
Right,
your buyer to that property that's going to work for them sooner rather than later.
right. Question for cash buyers. Um, they let's say you're working with a cash buyer, right? And they want to put in an inspection. Does that come out of their pocket or your pocket?
An inspection or an
Yeah,
appraisal.
both.
They would both cut, nothing would come out of the agent's pocket.
Okay.
It's going to be the buyer's responsibility to purchase either an inspection, probably both most of the time, an inspection and an appraisal.
Got you. Okay, and I overheard maybe one time that cash buyers don't usually bring in inspection.
No, they do. They usually inspect. They usually don't get appraisals.
Got you. Okay, okay, so it's the other
Yes.
way around.
An inspection is that aspect of the deal where the buyer is basically determining if the property is acceptable or not. right? They're going to look at termites and plumbing and electric and AC and that kind of thing, the roof, because when you first see it, you don't really get to dive deep into all the aspects of the home. You're just like, oh yeah, it looks good. And if it looks,
Hmm.
let's make an offer. And then once your offer gets accepted, that inspection period is that time where your buyer does a deep dive into, what condition the property is in. An appraisal is different. Appraisal is usually ordered by the lender, and that is just
Hmm.
a opinion of value. Basically, the lender gets those done because they don't want to give the buyer more money than what the house is.
Right. So question, let's say I'm working with a seller, right? They just literally made the house, like they built it from scratch, and now they're about to put it on the market, and they want to get an appraisal, right? Would I, whoever I use for mortgage, well, I mean, they're not taking any loans out, it would kind of have to be the buyer who brings in a mortgage. How would I, as the seller's agent, bring in an appraisal or whatever?
Yeah, so there are private appraisers. Every appraiser is just some person with an appraisal license.
Hmm.
So what happens when they're financing is the lender just orders an appraisal um, from an outside company, right? They try to use somebody who's not related to the deal at all. However,
Hmm.
if you're doing it, if you're recommending an appraiser to your client, and I can send you a list of appraisers, or you
I
could,
would do
or
that.
you could Google them. I'll send you some contacts, whatever you want. It's your job as a real estate professional to establish a network of supporting vendors, right? Title companies,
Right,
vendors, inspectors, appraisers, home warranty, all those different aspects, all those different vendors. It's your job to
right,
establish a reputation and a rapport with those vendors, so those people will help you when you need help. Um, but basically, for your seller, if they're wanting an appraisal, you're just going to send them a couple of appraisers' numbers and say, hey, here's a couple that I know that are trustworthy. Give them a call and let me know which one you choose.
okay. Do you know if appraisers usually work in a specific area they could, or it just depends on the appraiser?
Yeah,
It's kind of like
it,
title and mortgage and stuff.
yeah, very similar to the way you work, right? So,
Okay.
you're willing to drive however many hours, individually, right? They're 1099 as well.
Hmm.
So they're contractors, they're independent contractors. So they choose what they want and are willing to do. Basically, um, when it works with a lender, through a lender, what a lender does is they put a bid out there. They put an offer. They say, hey, we need an appraisal on this property. And then,
Got it.
five appraisers will see it and they'll bid on it. And then they choose the one that they like the best. But for you
Got it.
say,
Okay.
hey, here's my list of appraisers. They're all very good. Let me know which one you pick. You don't, and anytime you're going to recommend anybody, whether it's an inspector
Hmm.
or an appraiser or an attorney or anybody to a client, always make sure you recommend more than one.
Okay.
It
Okay.
just helps you legally. It takes a little bit of liability off of your plate. Because if you just say, hey, here's the one, and then that one screws them over or whatever, then they could say, hey, my realtor, forced me to go with these people or convinced me to go with these people.
Mm.
They're the reason why. So always give them more than one option um, when recommending a vendor.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I flew through some of this stuff. Like I said, guys, you're not going to get it all. It's going to take a long time before you're really, really familiar with this. I remember the first time I saw this, I went, I will never, no way. Just 12 pages plus, another 10 pages of documents. But now I can do these in my sleep because I've done so many, right? And they're actually really simple. All we're doing is plugging in key information. We're not really changing anything or, writing anything crazy. We're just plugging in, okay, well, what's their names? What's the address? How much do they want to offer? How much are they financing? When can they close? Is it contingent upon their financing? How long is their inspection period? Who chooses the title company? does the buyer or seller pay for the home warranty? Kind of the simple stuff. And then what other documents go along with this contract? And then is there any additional terms like the seller paying the buyer's closing cost, or the seller, um, like sometimes you'll see seller agrees to get a new roof installed by a licensed and insured roofing company before closing. Sometimes you'll see stuff like that, right? Because roofs are usually a big deal, especially because insurance. So, you might get your buyer might find a house that they really like where the roof is old and it doesn't qualify for insurance because the roof is so old. So you've got to negotiate with the seller to put a new roof on before closing. But don't get too wordy in here. My recommendation is always call Florida Legal Hotline if you're going to use additional terms, or me. So if it's during business hours, call Florida Realtors Legal Hotline, because you guys as realtors have access to attorneys Monday through Friday from, I think it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can literally call and talk to an attorney for free about the real estate contracts, about a deal, about anything. Sometimes I just call them just to see how they're doing. No, I'm just kidding. But use that to your advantage. Does everybody have their number? Does everybody have Florida Legal Hotline's number? If you do not say yes, I'm going to send it to you now. Got it. Sending you guys the number. So recommendation is always to double, triple check with legal hotline before you write anything in additional terms. And if they don't answer, or it's the weekend or it's outside of business hours, then call me. Got it? All right. Your first 20, your first 50, your first 100 offers, I don't care however many it takes. I will work it with you. You just call me or FaceTime me, and I will go through these contracts with you step by step to help you get it filled out with your client. So don't feel stressed about it. Understand that it's going to take many, 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 repetitions of you guys filling these out before you really understand it. So I have it recorded here. It'll be posted in band for you guys to go back to if you ever need it. Other than that, if there's no questions, you guys get out there and crush it. Have a great week. And let me know if you need anything.
Question. You do this every day now?
Yes,
Okay. Do you usually
every
go
day.
over contracts?
I'm not contracts every day. It's Mondays is Javier, Tuesdays is our normal office meeting. And
Right.
do Wednesdays, Cleo does Thursdays, and then Fridays is our sales meetings.
Got you. Okay, bet. Say this.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, guys, take care.
Bye.